She said that there was a point where Juliana hit her in a way that she had never been hit before, which is wild when you think about who she's been in there with. Now that Juliana Pena has proven to the world and proven to herself that she is capable of being Amanda Nunes, I mean, you don't get a bigger X factor than that. What's up, guys? Laura Sanko here. I literally just got to Dallas. You can tell I literally just got here because my room is still clean. It will not be like this very soon. I'm clean at home, messy on the road. Anyway, I'm here in Dallas getting ready for UFC 277. And apologies, this is going to be a little bit quicker, a little bit more surface level than I would like it to be. But as many of you might know, I'm literally just coming from Dana White's Contender Series. So kind of spent the bulk of my brain power on that and didn't have a lot of time to like dig into the weeds on this, but still some interesting things to discuss in this co-main and main event matchups, a couple of championships on the line. So yeah, let's dig into it. First off, in the main event, of course, is the bantamweight title is in the balance. And we have this, I actually think, a very interesting rematch between Juliana Pena and Amanda Nunes, and not necessarily interesting for the normal reasons. As we all know, Juliana Pena beating Amanda Nunes was one of, if not the biggest upset in the history of the UFC. The only one I think that might take it still is Matt Serra beating GSP, but it's a debate you can have, and the fact that you can have that debate tells you what a big upset it was. It was wild to see Amanda Nunes put in that position and for that fight to end the way that it did. I think it shocked a lot of people. It shocked me. And in the wake of that, I think that there's a lot to unpack. And the majority, I think, of this fight that we're going to see on Saturday is going to be fought between both of those women's ears. I actually had a chance, if you follow this channel, you probably saw it. I had a chance to talk to Amanda a couple weeks ago. And that interview really, really opened my eyes for a couple of reasons. She also did an interview, before I go into that, but she also did an interview with Brett Okamoto on ESPN that I would highly recommend that you go watch, because she said a few things that I thought were super insightful. Number one being that she really was dealing with an injury coming into that fight. It was some sort of knee injury, not one that needed surgery, but anybody who's been around the fight game knows, like, there's being banged up, and then there's like, if you have a knee injury that prevents you from doing the type of work that you need to do in order to prepare for a title fight, that will absolutely get you up here. Not only, I mean, forget the fact that she couldn't train, she couldn't jog, she said she couldn't really do any lower body exercise. So all of her cardio was just basically hitting pads and really only using her upper body. That is not enough to prepare you for a title defense. It just isn't. But the thing that stuck with me was two things in particular. One of which speaks to how legitimate I think her thoughts, I don't want to say excuse, her reason for looking so off that night. Because let's go back and think about the first round, right? The first round in that fight was, I think, what a lot of us expected the entire fight to look like. She knocked Juliana down with a leg kick. She was tagging her up. She dragged her down to the mat. She was controlling her on the ground, beating her up. Like, that's the fight that we all expected to see. And I think that that's super telling about the actual skill sets of the two fighters if Amanda had a full gas tank. But that's not to say that that's how this fight's going to play out, because now you've inserted this absolutely ginormous, and I cannot understate how big of an X factor this is. Now that Juliana Pena has proven to the world and proven to herself that she is capable of being Amanda Nunes, I mean, you don't get a bigger X factor than that, because there are fighters. We talk about Mike Tyson all the time. Mike Tyson, Chris Cyborg had it. I think Francis Ngannou has it to some degree, although maybe you could make an argument that less so. There are certain fighters whose, Valentino, I think, is a great example. There are certain fighters whose auras alone, their reputation alone, causes a lot of their opponents to be defeated before they even get in there. Juliana Pena is one of the most mentally strong women in this entire fight game. And that's not hyperbole. That woman is so in tune with herself. She is so confident in her own mind. And then to go out and prove that to herself, prove that to the world, prove all of us, including me, to be completely wrong. You want to talk about confidence coming into a fight, being able to replay that GoPro footage in your mind, that view that she had of being on Amanda's back, not having hooks in, getting her to tap, watching her punches affect her. You don't get a bigger asset coming into a fight than that. But let me backtrack a little bit because I was talking about Amanda. So for Amanda, I do think it was a legitimate excuse. I think that's why she gassed so fast in the second round. But there's something that she said in her interview with Brett Okamoto that I think it can play one of two ways. She said that there was a point where Juliana hit her in a way that she had never been hit before, which is wild when you think about who she's been in there with, right? You're talking about Chris Cyborg. You're talking about Valentina Shevchenko, like Megan Anderson. She has been up against some very heavy hitters, some very good fighters. And to say that Juliana Pena hit her in a way that she wasn't prepared for and that really affected her up here is interesting to think about. Now, normally I would say that individual needs to go back to the gym and get a ton of like really heavy sparring rounds. And I'm not talking about like sparring rounds that give you brain damage. I'm talking about sparring rounds that give you that sense of fear, that like, oh shit, I just got caught. What do I do now? Because there's a moment in that fight where you look back and you can see it written all over Amanda's face. Oh shit, what do I do now? And the house of cards just came crumbling down. And Juliana Pena, being the mental giant that she is, saw it, capitalized on it, and took that belt right from her. I think the real question is, where is Amanda's mind coming into this fight? And based on her interview and based on everything else I know and what I have seen, I genuinely think it's in the right space. I really do. I think for some fighters, they need a lot of bodies, they need a lot of looks. And then there are other fighters that really need to have the focus be about them. And when you're a fighter with a family, a wife and a daughter, that's a real thing, to have to be dividing your time, dividing your mental energy, all of that stuff. So now that she has the situation where she's essentially got a gym where between sessions she can chill with Nina and be with Reagan and just allow the fight game to truly consume her and be everything that she's about, that's a happy fighter and that's a dangerous fighter. And I do believe that we're going to see a scrap. But I think the first round of that last fight is telling in terms of the skill sets of each of these fighters. I don't know. I don't make predictions on this channel for a reason, but I'm fascinated to see how both of these women approach this second round, because if Juliana Pena can be a bully, if she can get back into the face of Amanda Nunes and cause that moment of doubt, cause that moment of panic of, man, I haven't been here before. I haven't had to recalibrate before in the middle of a combination, in the middle of a round, in the middle of a flurry, like, oh, what do I do? If she can cause that moment to happen again in this fight, she very well could beat Amanda Nunes again. That being said, Amanda Nunes, as I said, she seems happy. She seems focused. She looks amazing. I mean, if you see her posts, if you look at Embedded and Countdown, like she is physically noticeably different than the last fight, which is another reason why I tend to really believe that the whatever injury she was dealing with truly did affect her preparations for that fight. The outcome of the last fight was, in my mind, and she said as much, she didn't phrase it like this, but the outcome of the last fight was Amanda Nunes and the people that surround her not respecting the game the way that they should have. I think you can disrespect opponents in your head. You can tell yourself that you're better. You need to tell yourself those things when you're a fighter. I'm better. I'm the best. I'm better than this guy or this girl everywhere. She can't touch me. She can't take me down. She can't, all those things. You have to have that language in your brain. However, you have to have people around you that if they know that you're dealing with a major hurdle, like a significant enough injury that's preventing you from really training, you have to have people around you that will say, you know what? I know there's a lot at stake here, but that's the very reason why we're pulling you from this fight. And she said in the interview, she's like, that can't be Nina. And I get that. Like, you can't have your wife or husband or whomever be the one making those decisions, because it's just too close to home, and it's almost like a conflict of interest. So she said she wishes that she had a strong voice surrounding her that would have sat her down and said, listen, you are not 100%. You're not even close to 100%. And while we may feel, and you may feel, that you are head and shoulders above this opponent, we can't disrespect the game and not come into a title fight fully prepared and fully trained. So I think she is fully prepared. I think she is fully trained. She looks happy. But on the flip side, Juliana Pena, more confident than ever. I wish I could steal just a sprinkle of what Juliana Pena's got going on upstairs, because I think she's an incredible woman. And the confidence and the self-talk is just, I love seeing it from her. I don't have a horse in this race. I think both of them are wonderful people, wonderful, wonderful moms. And like, I'm just excited to see them go out there and battle, but should be an interesting one. And then the co-main event. So I don't know if you guys know this. I'm guessing some of you do, but Brandon Moreno now trains at my gym in Kansas City at Glory MMA and Fitness. So I have had a front row seat to his preparations for this fight. He was out there for a few months, actually moved to Kansas City, and along with Marcelo Rojo and a couple of the other guys from Entrim, along with a striking coach, a jiu-jitsu coach. Like, he brought a crew with him. But here's what I'll say. Masio Fulham, I got to add him in there too. Sorry, Masio. He came with an entourage, but like, if there's such a thing as showing up with an entourage, but being completely just like blending in with the room right away, that's exactly what he did. Brandon Moreno has got to be one of the nicest, most down to earth, hardest working individuals I've ever come across. And he's the type of guy that doesn't demand attention when he comes into the gym. Like, he's there, and he's there to work hard. He's there to learn. And it's a little tricky for me, because it's like, I don't want to talk too many X's and O's from his perspective, because I feel like I know too much. But I will say this: what Glory MMA and Fitness, and in particular head coach James Krause, are really good at is organizing your MMA game. And it's amazing to me how many fighters, how many very high level fighters have, an encyclopedia of skills. And Brandon falls into this category. He can do everything. He's an incredible boxer. He's got great wrestling. He's got excellent jiu-jitsu. He's good up here. He's tough as nails. Like, if there was a recipe for making the ideal flyweight, like, Brandon has all of those ingredients. But sometimes it's like, I've got this armbar, and I've got this guillotine, and I've got this combination, and I've got this wicked jab, and I've got this footwork. But like, there's no connective tissue between all of these incredible assets and skills that you have. And what James Krause is so good at doing is building that connective tissue and building a roadmap of decision-making and flow, so that in the moment, there is an answer for every question that's posed to you in a fight. Our gym is interesting because it's a lot of guys that James built from the ground up. They're not natural athletes. They're just guys and girls that want to fight, and they're there to learn. And like, he takes, these unrefined diamonds and polishes them up and makes them as beautiful as they can be. This is the first time where someone has come to him already baked, and it's been really cool to see what he's able to do when it's not skill building, it's like skill connecting. And I am so pumped to see what Brandon Moreno goes out there and does. But he has an incredibly tough challenge against him in Kai Kara-France. Obviously, they have fought before. Brandon Moreno came out on top, but there were moments in that fight where Brandon was absolutely in trouble. He got cracked in the first round, got knocked down. Kai Kara-France is as legit of a threat as you're going to get, especially on the feet. He's got nasty striking. He's got a lot of the hallmarks that all of those city kickboxing guys do, the Alex Volkanovskis of the world, the Izzies of the world, the Dan Hookers of the world. He has many of those same skills, the feints, the footwork, the distance management. He is a very, very skilled fighter. I think his last win over Bontarine really showed what he was capable of as well, because he fought off a very, very deep submission to come out and get an insane knockout. I mean, Kai Kara-France has real deal power. And it's something that Brandon Moreno is going to have to be very careful of. I think in this fight, we're going to see Brandon really mix his martial arts, as John Gooden likes to say on the broadcast, he's really mixing his martial arts. I think we're going to see Brandon Moreno do that. I think that although he's capable of going toe-to-toe and striking with Kai Kara-France, I think Brandon's going to look to really blend and make this a true mixed martial arts fight. That being said, I know Kai Kara-France is training for that. It'd be silly for Kai to come into this fight thinking, oh, this is just going to be a boxing match or a kickboxing match. He's prepared. He knows what he's getting in for. So it's going to be a good one. I'm excited. I wish it was for the real title. That division's kind of an interesting spot right now with Figgy on the sidelines. But regardless, we do have a belt at stake, interim or not. It is a belt and it matters. And it's going to go down here in Dallas on Saturday. It's going to be an incredible night. Some fantastic fights, top to bottom on that card. So be sure to check it out. I think we're on ABC as well as ESPN. So that's very exciting for the broadcasters that are part of the main team. They love being on ABC. And why shouldn't they? So there you have it, guys. Don't miss it. It's going to be an incredible night, and I'll see you there.